Welcome everybody to the Synapse Philosophy Group. We are nearly done with volume 39. We're on page 133. BJ Palmer's book, Our Masterpiece. And it's an amazing book. And I love getting to the end. I know it's coming at the end of this. And we've had so much fun reading this. I love it. Alan has gracefully said that he is going to do some reading for us. 133, right at this first paragraph right here, Palmer's Law of Life philosophy.
All right. Palmer's Law of Life philosophy, as propounded and presented in our volume 36, is not in any loose or strict sense of the term a religion per se. That's a typo there. Let me mark it. Sorry. There are those who have tried to interpret it as such. This philosophy acknowledges a superior and supreme universal intellect law, which many call God. Religions, including all their beliefs, faiths, rituals, and ceremonies, plead, beg, ask for, and utter prayers from outside in, below up, for same purpose and in same manner as does medicine. In this sense, educated religious devotees think they possess some inaccessible rights and privileges of educationally asking for, telling, or advising this supreme being how to instruct it to regulate and govern all affairs of mere men on earth, and how to advise it to govern all things celestial. You want me to stop there for a second?
Yeah.
It's clear that he's making sure that we're knowing that chiropractic's not a religion, and he compares it religion to medicine in a way where he talks about it's people ask God to do stuff, and as we know, universal intelligence in chiropractic is unsolicitous. It just is there, making it all work, maintaining it all in existence, but just there. Gravity sucks, we know that, but that's just the way it is.
In Palmer's Law of Life, I mean, that's what, he's really getting back to. That is, that book is an amazing book. And I think that's where we're going next. And really the description of this esoteric thing we really have as innate and spirit within this body. And then the universal intelligence, some call God, like he's saying here too. And, absolutely asking for it, telling it, or advising this supreme being how to instruct it to regulate and grow all affairs of mere man on earth, and how to advise it to govern things. In my talk, at the office, one of the things I say, I can't tell your body what to heal. There may be something going on with your prostate or your kidneys or your liver, your back pain you can live with, but you can't live without your heart. So, there's a hierarchy. That's what he's really saying. You can't say, let's take this Tylenol and it's only going to go to your head. It's not going to go out through the rest of the body. It's not going to be digested, and you have a wish and a prayer. So should we move on?
I'm ready.
Do it.
The two philosophies, chiropractic and medicine, chiropractic and religions, are diametric opposites. The two approaches to educations, in quotes, are antipodal. Medicine has failed, is failing. Chiropractic has succeeded and is succeeding where everything in medicine has not. It is not within our province to set ourselves up as any criterion of what is right or wrong, better or worse. In religions, except to cite contrasts as applied to philosophy, sciences, and arts, of the three great methods involving welfare of mankind, spiritually, mentally, and or physically. Nothing, no thing, no matter how done, can educated man change, modify, abridge, sense, talk up to the natural source of his life from which he derives his living functions. He cannot talk up to innate, but innate can and does talk down to all his living cells, including his educated brain, if he is receptive.
That's for That's really interesting, that last little line, if he is receptive to listen to innate. And that's what he's been writing about all these volumes, really, is how do we listen and take action? So that little bit was, I think
And we can't tell innate what to do. We can't ask innate for anything. Innate is independent. But innate will talk to us if we listen, and that's something we can learn to do. It's a practiced art. The more you work on it, the better you get at it.
Yep, that's
You learn
it.
to listen to those the secret impulses that BJ talked about, the impulses when he in the middle of the night, and he would get up and just type away on that rolling typewriter of his, that he would get thought flashes. And you learn to listen, and the more you listen to those flashes and realize what they're doing for you and accept them, then the more you get.
And
that was my experience anyway. That is my experience.
That's 100% it. All right, let's keep going, man. This is all good stuff.
In this same respect, nothing, no matter how done or what language used, based on his varied beliefs and faiths of his loyalty and noble religions, can educated man modify, abridge sense, talk up to the natural source from which man is but one of the species and families to his God. But God can and does communicate down to every living creature in its own way at its own time. Educated man long has presumed to think that God should or be more man-like. In reality, man should be more God-like. This can come about only from above down, inside out. No plea or prayer can reverse the natural law of direction. Simple as that.
But man, he's saying it. It's not much to refine. He's refining it for us.
We need not be told that comparisons or principles between chiropractic and medicine will meet the approbation of chiropractors. Neither do we need to emphasize that any comparison of the same principles between our chiropractic philosophy of above down, inside out, and religious is unpopular. We know that. We, as a nonconformist, must speak truth as we see it. We have no desire to influence or change any person's belief or faith. All we ask is weigh the evidence and accept or reject as the best judgment dictates. We good?
We're good. I'd say keep going.
This chiropractic principle, by contrast, is neither right or wrong. If right, it is 100% right. If wrong, it is 100% wrong. If right, it will work. If wrong, it can't work. This discussion between chiropractic and medicine rises or falls, lives or dies, based on the difference between the above down, inside out, and the outside in, below up principles. Evolution is the unfolding of innate from above down, inside out. Revolutionary ideas deflate education's ideas, producing revolution. History proves that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to add to that. He's got it. I think, let's read it.
Thus, plus the development this boy man made in innate's natural and normal chiropractic under the guidance of innate thought flashes made him realize he must dedicate and consecrate his life to teaching the chiropractic profession or succeed in like manner by explaining as best he could what had occurred to him could occur to others because they contained same innates as he, and they could also climb out of mediocrity, same as he had. When that state of his understanding had been reached and he had found himself, he began to teach others how they too could find themselves until he passed on to others this transition beyond himself, and they caught his understanding of the process. Life became a boundless field of human service. He was one inspired as though he had discovered a wonderful, exhaustless fount of wisdom, which anybody could tap as others tapped him.
Now, I just want to say something. This is not a slight on you at all. It occurred in him could occur in others. You said two, and I think there's a difference, distinction of happening to us or happening from within us.
Yes.
And that
Did I
distinction
misread that? I'm sorry.
well, it's okay, because that would be a normal way to read that. And, Pasquale used to say, because, in the Bible, on earth as it is in heaven, right? He says, it's much more, a proper way to say it would really be in earth as it is in heaven. And if we are the earthly embodiment of, and heaven is within, and it is within us, the kingdom of heaven is within. So the distinction much more is different from on to two, and then in and on, if that makes sense at all. Like on earth it is in heaven, but it's the in earth as it is in heaven, which because the kingdom of heaven is within. And his distinction just really, it occurred to in him could occur in others. And I just thought there was a distinction in that. And
Absolutely, you're right.
because it's coming, everything comes from us, intuition, spirit, all these, the things we accomplish in life. It's an inner job. It's not from the outside in. And everything he's saying in his vocabulary really just hones that of how he owned it. Because he keeps calling himself, what did he call him, a boy man? Where did he say that? The very first line, here it is. That plus the development this boy man made in innate's natural and normal chiropractic. He was, how old was he at this point? He's, at the end of his life. I'm not sure of his age, honestly, at this point, but
He died in his 60s, so yeah.
So he's in his late 60s at this point, and still calling himself a boy man. So much.
He's referring to when he first came to him. He was a boy man. He was trying to he was living independently, I think, at that time. But he was a boy at the time, and that's when it all came to him.
All right. Thank you. Should we keep going?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Let me think if there's one other thing there that I was thinking about. Let's let it go. Many times, some of our educated people in our Palmer enterprises tell us not to do this way, but do it that way, meaning, of course, we should follow their educated methods of presentation. At such times, we must decide whether to follow suggestions offered by our innate by preference, rejecting their educated presentations. When they remain with us long enough, they will learn the law of innate's presentations, that's all in caps. When they do, they will understand why we feel necessary to reject their educated opinions. Let us make one point very clear, because the question is often asked, what can I do to contact innate? I've got a whole bunch of this highlighted in this paragraph, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're getting some meat.
Yeah, you can no more contact innate than you can contact God with your babble of voices and pleas and prayers. If you are willing and receptive, and this factor is proven to innate, innate will contact you. And that's in caps, is proven to innate, innate will contact you. If as ready is innate, you can
I'll just say right here,
force that an issue.
Hold on one second, Alan. He's been saving up all the comments he was supposed to use in that line, because there's like four or five commas right in a row that don't really make sense. But
yeah, and a typo, right?
There's a typo, so I think that's kind of funny. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I stumbled over it anyway, even though I was trying to be prepared for that. As ready is innate, you cannot force an issue. It must come freely, willingly, without pressure. So what can I do to contact innate? Well, you can't reach out to innate, but innate will contact you if you're willing to listen, is what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready, innate is ready. You can't force it. It has to come freely and willingly without pressure. There will be some of those who think I, the educated person, have turned mystic, whatever that is. There is nothing supernatural about this process of letting innate contact you, except that is quite unusual for innate to contact education. It is rare, therefore, a much misunderstood process. There is nothing mystical about innate being in close and constant contact with tissue cell functions. Why then should it be considered mystical when innate contacts educated brain delivering innate thoughts to educated brain, any more than it might be considered mystical when innate contacts liver and produces bile, or contacts heart and pumps blood to and sucks it back from the body. One difference is we cannot stop material fundamentals in matter, but we do refuse to accept immaterial functions of thought as they come from innate brain to educated brain. The secret of this kid's success was that he had the courage to be himself, dared to constantly listen to innate by preference and act upon its flashes. He reached this conclusion at 18 and has been so directed ever since. The transitions from kid to young man to man, and now in ripe age of maturity. And the more this man egotistically sublimated himself to the greater innate, the more humble he became. He realized his education was like one drop of water to an innate ocean. What he egotistically thought he knew was like one grain of sand to the seashore. Innate proved there was a great unexplored world within him which needed understanding. Period. Missing.
Period. Well, he said period because there's no period here, but
yes,
another typo. You know, it's well written. I have to say, he gets his point across. You can feel BJ's emotion in it. You could see him reflecting back as a child of where he's come from, and having that realization when he was 18, he started paying attention to innate. I could think of my very first times as a small child, and then also leaving me at sometimes. But I could feel the emotion in here, and I could feel the man, if that makes sense. Of, I want to tell you, I feel like a son hearing a story, if that makes sense. So
I think that it's very interesting. I was on a call last night with the Sage Wisdom Group, and they just started doing about a monthly call with for that they hope to attract a bunch of students to be on the call to just talk about their years in practice and try to help people grow their practices by understanding. We're talking about this stuff that's right here, and he really BJ lays it out for people to read it and understand it. That how do you do it? You have to learn to listen, and everybody on the call, all the experienced people on the call, all were very much in tune with, I was in practice 30 years, I was in 40 years, and it came through me, when I was with my practice members, and that's what he's talking about here. And we have the challenge in the profession today of the group that wants it to all be purely scientific and provable and double-blind studies. And it's not this, the science is not wrong. It validates what we do, but it's not complete. And to eliminate the innate and the intuitive portion of chiropractic is
the destruction of chiropractic.
It's the destruction of chiropractic. It's the difference. I think that each of us has that innate that has chosen to be in each of us as individuals is, that spark has a purpose for each of us. And all of us that are involved here with chiropractic at this time in the universe, at this time in the world, as chiropractic was developed to come through these eras of World War II and Vietnam and the tumult of today. And we have a purpose here to help the world to survive. And part of it is this intuitive knowledge that we gain by being in touch, and it's available to everybody.
And it's there, and it's, we've always had it. It wasn't chiropractors that discovered it.
No,
it's there, and it's ancient wisdom. I mean, this is, every book in, history is talked about, the spirit of man. Not every book, but I mean every spiritual book in consciousness from the beginning of written, or even before written language. It's not a new concept.
But our society has moved away from that concept of interconnectedness between man and nature, man and man,
And that's
and
on
the
purpose.
dependence of people on
Yeah.
each other, and
Well,
to
now
help
that's a
each other.
that's hearsay in the outer world. That's a fictitious world to us, right?
Yeah, but
And
that's the part of the problem, is that this part of our community has been sucked into that belief system of you have to be able to prove it somehow scientifically, and that's divorced from the more cosmic world, if you will, of spirit and connectedness.
yeah, and it's really is, why is that happening across the board all of a sudden? And it is more common now. Of course, we want to prove things, but it's just coming through in our chiropractic profession right now, where we have research, even just clinical research, where you have people getting well. It's obvious. How can we turn a blind eye to those things? It makes sense. When we see a vertebra adjusted and a child's colic goes away, there is no placebo effect with that. You adjusted a subluxation and the body was able to function as it normally should. There's no magic involved in that. So to me, that is, and that's what McCoy, all his writing, all those, the magazines and publications are about, are really clinical research. Interesting stuff. Yeah. And I'm grateful for all this. This new section, Chiropractic, a new attitude, a new approach to the health of man, by Dr. Ken Lipke, editor-in-chief of the New York State Journal of Chiropractic, is the very next thing on page 137. My intention was really to keep that right there from that spot for next week.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Well, next week, not next week, at the end of August, I'll be with Dwayne up there, the Palmetto State Chiropractic Association. Am I correct? And talking about innate adjusting. And then we're going to talk about philosophy. He added a couple of more hours, not to add any more stress to my day, but let's add a couple of more hours, Haig.
But that just comes out of you. That's
you're going to
hardly
be among
work there.
friends. You're going to be among friends. You're going to be among philosophers. So,
Well, that's good.
Fun. We'll be fine.
That's good.
Take it to new levels.
Well, we're gonna pump it up. We're gonna have fun.
When is that?
Pardon?
When is that?
27th, 28th of August.
In Columbia, South Carolina.
pscaonline.com/events.
I'm excited for that one. It's, is Larry still coming? Is it Beth Zog, me, and Larry Goodman, or?
Larry couldn't make it. He's got something health-wise. He couldn't. He needed to stay.
Understood.
In Florida. So.
Okay. Going up against Beth Zog, her presentation's awesome. I love hearing her. And she goes through a lot of history, and she has such cool old pictures of Dr. Clay Thompson, and her talks. It's just like, I just love hearing her talk. Something about her voice is just mesmerizing. And I've got to follow her the day after.
She's in that group last night. Yeah.
Huh?
She's in that group last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I want to get on that group.
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure that next time I hear something come up about it, I'll make sure I send a link to you. It was Ken. The core group was Ken Harris, Beth Zog, Bob DeBonis, and Cormac.
Okay.
So.
I mean, that's a stellar group right there.
Yeah.
Stellar group. And Alan Lichter, the man himself.
Thank you.
I love you guys. And, we got to this section, and we're going to get to this next parts. We're finishing this up. I'm not in a rush to finish it.
We got two chapters to go, right? That one and one more.
Yeah. And, it's just a little bit. And then I have a reprint from the frat. We don't need to read all that stuff, but, I'm grateful for the frat putting these back out. And we had a great meeting tonight. I can't wait to get to Columbia and hang out with you, Dwayne, and talk with some spiz with our Spizzerinctum group. And life is good.
It will be fun. It will be great, and I'm looking so forward to it.
Awesome. Me too. Me too. All right, gentlemen, have a lovely evening. It was awesome communicating with you and getting some spiz and chiropractic. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll be back next week. Everything's same time, same channel. My vacation is over. I got a week off. Alan got a week off, and we're ready to go. All right. Have a good night.